Little Fox.
Puss in Boots, Episode 13. Carabas is saved! Carabas floated in the river. Rough hands suddenly grabbed him.
What's going on?
Carabas cried. Two men carried him out of the river.
You're safe now,
One man said.
But
Carabas was confused.
what?
Master!
Puss ran to him.
Thank goodness you're okay.
He winked at Carabas. Another man walked over. Carabas gulped. It was the king!
Guards!
The king said.
Right to the castle! Get dry clothes for the Duke!
The guards rode off. Soon they were back with dry clothing.
What a nice surprise!
Carabas put on the fine clothes.
Duke,
The king said.
it's nice to meet you.
Carabas bowed.
Thank you, Your Majesty. But I must tell you...
Suddenly, Carabas heard beautiful music.
Who is playing the guitar?
He asked. The king smiled.
That's my daughter.
What beautiful music.
Carabas said. The king laughed.
Yes, my daughter is very talented. Oh, what did you want to tell me?
Huh?
Carabas said. He was still listening to the music.
What were you going to say?
The king asked. Carabas shook his head.
It was nothing.
The king put his hand on Carabas's shoulder.
Come, meet my daughter.
Puss in Boots, Episode 14. Puss sneaks away.
My dear,
The king said to Fiona.
this is the Duke of Carabas.
Carabas bowed. It is nice to meet you, Fiona said. You have a lovely cat. Carabas grinned.
Thank you.
The king smiled.
My daughter and I are taking a ride. Join us!
Perfect.
Puss thought, sneaking away.
Puss can come too.
The king said. He looked around.
Where did he go?
Carabas scratched his head.
I don't know.
Carabas climbed into the carriage.
Fiona, your music is beautiful.
He said.
Can you play for me?
Fiona blushed. She picked up her guitar and played. Meanwhile, Puss ran far ahead of the carriage. Puss saw men cutting hay in a meadow.
Hello.
He called.
The king will be coming along soon. Tell him the Duke of Carabas owns this meadow.
That cat talks!
One man cried.
We won't lie to the king.
Another said. Puss showed his claws.
Yes, you will!
Yikes!
The men cried. The carriage soon passed the meadow.
Who owns this meadow?
The king asked.
The Duke of Carabas owns it.
One man said. The king looked at Carabas.
Very impressive, Duke.
Carabas was confused, but he stayed quiet. Puss in Boots, Episode 15, The Castle. Puss came to a cornfield.
Hey there!
Puss called to some workers. One man looked up in surprise.
Yes? The king is coming!
Puss said.
Tell him the Duke of Carabas owns this cornfield.
I won't lie to the king.
The man said. Puss hissed and showed his claws.
Do as I say, or I'll eat you for dinner.
The man held up his hands.
Okay.
The carriage rolled along.
That's a magnificent cornfield.
The king said.
I wonder who owns it.
Fiona didn't hear the king. She was playing her guitar. Carabas didn't hear him either. He was listening to the beautiful music. The king leaned out of the carriage.
Who owns this cornfield?
He called. The king smiled when he heard the answer.
Duke!
The king said.
I didn't know you owned a cornfield.
Huh?
Carabas said. Puss danced as he walked along.
My plan is working perfectly.
He thought. Soon, Puss saw a castle. It was a fine castle. A farmer was working nearby.
Who owns that castle?
Puss asked.
An ogre owns it.
The farmer said.
Don't go near it!
Puss puffed out his chest.
I'm not afraid of ogres.
Puss in Boots, Episode 16, Nervous Servants.
You play the guitar so well, Fiona.
Carabas said.
You're an amazing musician.
Fiona laughed. I practice a lot. She handed Carabas the guitar. Let me hear you play. Carabas strummed the guitar. The king whispered in Fiona's ear.
Carabas would make a great husband. He's rich and owns lots of land.
Fiona shrugged. I want a husband who is kind. Puss walked up the hill. He knocked on the castle's door. A young man opened it.
Yes?
I'd like to speak with the ogre.
Puss said.
The ogre is out.
The man said.
You may come in and wait for him.
The man led Puss into a room.
Sit.
He said.
Make yourself comfortable.
The man called to a servant.
Bring us tea!
Yes, sir.
The servant hurried away. He soon came back. His hands shook as he poured the tea.
Why is the servant so nervous?
Puss thought. He looked around. Other servants stood nearby. They all looked nervous too. Puss thought.
Now I'm beginning to get nervous.
He stood up.
Thank you,
Puss said to the man.
but I need to go now. I must.
The man suddenly grew big and green. His face became ugly. Puss gasped.
You're the ogre!
Little Fox.